What's up, folks? Welcome in another edition of the Oddsmakers podcast presented by Superbook Sports. Jonathan Von Tobel with the faces of the program, Jake Kornegay, John Murray. What's up, guys? As always, we always like to look back before we look ahead. Anything interesting from the weekend that was? Football, college football, anything notable at least?
Had one of the best Sundays we've had all season. Maybe the best, actually. And Saturday was okay, maybe a break-even day, and then Friday, going backwards, was another positive day. So we'll take it.
So Sunday, one of the best that you've had probably of the season, huh?
In Nevada.
We should state that.
Well, it kind of trumps all the others.
It does.
Yeah. We can't talk about New Jersey these days because the Jets, Giants, Phillies, Eagles, Yankees.
Not going well?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, in Nevada, at least, you have something positive to look on, at least. So as a bettor, I hope you guys continue to come out on top.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
See, we're all friends here. We're all friends. All right, let's move on. We do have an interesting week of football, college football and professional football at that. First up, we have to start Thursday night. It's not the best game in the world, it seems, but I find it interesting because I do like the way the market handles certain teams. Ravens and Buccaneers. Jay, I'll go with you first. This number's been like ping-ponging back and forth. At one point, it was Ravens -1. Right now, up on the screen, Superbook 1.5-point favorite, total of 45.5. What has been the story here as we have seen this move back and forth?
That is the story. Yeah. We opened the Bucs at 2 and went to the other side, Ravens -1.5, and about 2 hours ago, it moved back to the Buccaneers -1.5. So flip-flopping back and forth. But this is a rare occasion where actually I think the Thursday night matchup, and I know it's not great, but it's better than the Monday night matchup that we're looking at this weekend. So I'm kind of looking forward to this one because I want to see what's up with Jackson. I mean, he's been making a lot of big mistakes, and I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball, but more interesting to me is seeing Brady struggle like he is. He's getting hit a lot, and I think it's showing that he just wants to get rid of the ball. His receivers aren't creating space. There's a lot of problems in Tampa Bay, but I think that's pretty interesting watch for me.
Well, I agree because, I mean, look at the way the market's had him, right, the last couple of weeks. We're talking, near 10.5-point favorite, somewhere in that range against the Steelers. We're with near 2 touchdowns against the Carolina Panthers. And now, all of a sudden, there's this really, tumultuous fall in terms of their rating where they're, at one point, a 1.5-point underdog at home against Baltimore. Can I ask you, so you mentioned toggling back and forth and going through zero really not that much. So is that you guys just kind of matching the market in terms of moving that, nothing really moving it from an action standpoint?
That's exactly what happened. The market was just going back and forth. That really didn't take any big sharp plays. Of course, the public's not going to bet it until a few hours before kickoff. But right now, the market's just been going back and forth. I haven't seen any sharp play. Have you seen any?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think I just think it's interesting. Tampa Bay's struggling so much, and I haven't heard one pundit, John, talk about the fact that their coach retired and they promoted an assistant coach. And the team looks totally different. I mean, are we going to just pretend like that didn't happen?
Well, to add to that, did their coach retire,
or was he forced out?
Was he forced out by the quarterback who is now distracted by family matters and who is leaving in the middle of weeks for things like Robert Kraft's wedding?
Bruce Arians, I think, was always underrated. He took that Colts team to the playoffs when Luck was a rookie. He got Arizona to an NFC Championship game. He won the Super Bowl in Tampa. The guy never got enough credit, and he was either forced out or he retired or he stepped into a new role, and it is showing up. And I'm surprised. We don't even talk about it. Everybody's blaming everything on Brady. And maybe the coaching thing is Brady's fault. But it's obvious that they miss Arians.
Yeah. I mean, he was a really well-respected guy. I mean, he was beloved on the sideline, in the locker room. Everybody liked him as far as what I've read. And now, not so much. A lot of people going in their own direction. So I think that's a common theme in the NFL. I mean, I'm coming from Denver, but we're seeing that across the board in many organizations this year in the NFL. A lot of disarray.
Oh, yeah. Well, and what I think is really, so I don't know if you guys saw this, but Byron Leftwich during media availability, their offensive coordinator, former NFL quarterback, was asked a question about advanced analytics because they run the ball a lot on first down. That's an analytical no-no. You don't really want to do that, especially if you're not running it well. He was asked about a metric called EPA, expected points added, had no clue what it was, and kind of laughed at the question. I feel like, to your guys' point, I don't know if Bruce Arians was a really big EPA and metrics guy, but that offense looks completely different, and I think that's a really big part of it. And Leftwich does seem a little not lost, but he doesn't seem as fluid as a play caller. We'll put it that way.
Well, they certainly can't run the ball, no matter what you say. They can't run the ball at all.
Got to establish it, though, Jay.
Okay. Well, Fournette came in. What did he come in at? 300 pounds, and now he's down to playing weight. But still, they're having problems everywhere. One of the more noticeable things about Tampa Bay, they have no speed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. They just have no speed. Godwin and Evans, we know what happened, in that first series, and he dropped that ball. But there is absolutely no separation. It's a makeshift offensive line. Brady's got some issues on his mind. There's a lot of things going. But going back, that's why I think it's interesting. I think I'm going to watch it just for that.
All right, let's go to Seahawks because this is a team that I think has been garnering a lot of respect in the market, and rightfully so. This offense has looked a lot better. John, I'll go to you on this one because you guys, your look ahead was -1. You guys reopened 2.5. We're up to a full field goal now at home for the Seattle Seahawks against the New York Giants. And I just want to point out for our listeners, I like to compare and contrast games, John, like in terms of power ratings where you're finding, how these teams are being marketed and rated. The Seahawks were a 2.5-point underdog at home to the Arizona Cardinals just a few weeks back. Now they're laying a full 3 to the New York Giants, who come in 6-1. It does show you there is a change here in the rating for Seattle finally.
Well, the sharp guys were all over Seattle against the Chargers on Sunday. And then the other thing is the Giants have gotten no respect in the lines all year. So you've got to consider that. I mean, the Giants were like a 5.5, 6-point dog at home against Baltimore. And they were a dog against Jacksonville. They were, I want to say, like a 3-point favorite against the Bears at home. I mean, they've got no respect all season. That's why you're seeing the line for this game the way it is. We did see some sharp players on Seattle. At some point, you got to stop doubting the Giants, though.
Yeah,
I mean, they just win every week. I mean, they could be undefeated. The one game they lost, they could have easily won. I think it was that Monday night game against Dallas that they gave away.
Yeah, the sharp play. I thought there was some sharp play last week on the Jaguars over the Giants.
Yeah,
it popped up there, and so
reading some reports, it did seem like the Sharps were very much on Jacksonville last week.
Yeah, and so just up to last week, the Sharps are not respecting, the Giants, and I think the general public's that way as well.
We had sharp guys laying Baltimore at like Baltimore -5, 4.5, got all the way up to 6 at New York. New York won the game outright. I mean, New York should not have won that game, but they were in position to cover even before that ridiculous interception that Lamar Jackson threw that ended up costing them the game. The Giants were still probably going to cover the spread.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a sharp. I don't think I am. But I will say I have bet against the New York Giants each of the last 2 weeks and have had egg all over my face each of the last 2 weeks. And I will say I enjoy it. I bet them over 7 on their win total. It's amazing that they're here at this point right now. I didn't expect it was going to be this easy. John, I'll ask you because the Giants are the story. The NFC West is completely wide open. What do you think of the legitimacy of Seattle, at least in terms of a division that right now has a bunch of teams hovering around 500?
I think Seattle's legit. I mean, San Francisco just has so much talent. It's almost like impossible for them to not pull their act together at some point in the season. But Seattle's got a lot of good young players. They're playing loose. They got nothing to lose. I don't know. I wouldn't write off the Seahawks.
I would not either.
I'm not a big believer right now.
No,
I think their defense is suspect.
Yeah,
and, but if Walker,
worse than suspect.
If they're going to be able to run the ball like they have over the last couple of weeks, maybe that's going to be the difference. But other than that, I don't know. I've seen so much of Geno Smith over the years. I'm just not all in yet. So
I just see sharp guys betting him a lot. I see sharp guys betting on Seattle a lot. Like every week almost. And that to me is always a telltale sign. Because I don't really have an opinion on the team, but I see all these sharp guys betting on them.
Is that so? Let me ask you, John, would you think that is a sign that the Seattle is legitimate, or is that just a sign that these sharp guys believe the market just has not adequately rated Seattle?
I could say both.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't be betting them every week unless there was something there. Their defense, Jay was being PC, their defense is downright lousy.
It stinks, yeah.
But they move the ball up and down the field, and I don't know. I see sharp bets come in on them almost every week. I saw it again this week. Definitely saw it last week for sure. At some point, you got to recognize that. And then that's a team really set up for the future, too, because they got those first-round picks from Denver. They got rid of Russell Wilson's contract.
Those picks are looking better every week.
That Seattle team,
a couple.
They could get back up to the top quickly.
2 second-rounders.
I was going to say, they still look better every single week. Package those up, send them off.
How's Font doing, by the way? I mean, he's a Font, whatever.
Fant.
Sorry,
No,
yeah,
Fant.
yeah. But I think he was doing okay. He's not lighting it up, but when you look at that and just giving up the farm for this guy. All right, next game.
Okay, I was going to say, you sounded like you wanted more, but all right, we'll move on from there. So we talk about quarterbacks, their legitimacy. I question Jimmy Garoppolo every single week, and last week didn't really work out for the San Francisco 49ers against Kansas City. I think, Jay, so you were talking about how interested you were in this game on Thursday night. I'm fascinated by 49ers at Rams. Let's go back a few weeks ago. The 49ers were, a 1.5-point favorite at home against this Rams team. Now they are a 1.5-point favorite on the road against the Los Angeles Rams. We've talked about home field, not really worth that much. Still notable that after that performance, you guys actually moved from your look-ahead here. Your look-ahead was Rams -2.5. You reopened at essentially pick -1, and now we're up to 1.5.
Yeah, the power ranking on the Rams is really just going down the toilet right now. Even though they had last week off, it's still going down.
I was going to say they lost in the bye week.
I still kind of believe it should be like either pick or maybe Rams 1 here. And I still believe that one of these two teams, I'm not giving up. I still think one of these two teams is going to win the West. Mm-hmm. So I think one of them will figure it out, get it done. I do believe that 49ers, I believe they're getting some of their guys back on defense, and the Rams continue to underperform. So I just think that's a little out of whack. That 1.5, and that's where the market went. I don't think we had strong opinions in the back room on this game. I think most of us were right around pick or maybe Rams 1, and then all of a sudden the market goes the other way with San Francisco being a road favorite here. So I still believe that one of these two teams will win it.
How much is this the Christian McCaffrey effect, do you think?
It's a little bit. I think that certainly helps. When you get a player like that on, in a new scene and a contender, that's where he wanted to be. He's from that area. I think it motivates not only him, I think it motivates his teammates. I mean, I think that they got a little mojo, even though it didn't come through against Kansas City, which I was really surprised, actually, that it wasn't a closer game. But let's face it, Kansas City is probably the second-ranked team in the league. So losing to them at home isn't a lot of shame there. I think by the time they figure it out, they should be able to take care of the rest of the teams that are in the NFC West.
I don't want to surprise you with anything. Do you guys make any big adjustments with the McCaffrey news in terms of like divisions or anything like that? Well, I know a couple of spots made the 49ers odds-on favorites to win the division. That was before the Kansas City loss, but
we lowered all
20 down to 14. Yeah. It was like Super Bowl 20 to 14, but then as soon as they lost to Kansas City, they're back up to 18.
Mm-hmm. The sharp guys were all over the Niners in that game too.
Yeah,
and we wrote tons of money from the sharp and the public. That was our best game this Sunday. Everybody bet the Niners. Wise guys too, though. The line got all the way down to pick.
Yeah, that was surprising. I didn't, but that's not really worth that much. All right, let's go to Packers at Bills. Sunday Night Football. At the beginning of the season, this looked like it was going to be absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Not so much the case now, John. 11.5 for Aaron Rodgers, total of 47.5. Rodgers continues, by the way. He went on Pat McAfee's show during the week, blamed his entire offense, essentially. It's everybody's fault but Aaron Rodgers. It does not look good for the Green Bay Packers.
No, it's a disaster. The whole season's a complete disaster. There's something wrong with Rodgers. He's not throwing the ball. He's got to have an injury or something.
Thumb.
Jay's saying thumb. And there's
He's
clearly,
been dealing with it. Yep.
There's obviously something wrong there. His receivers aren't getting open. It makes me question a little bit the coaching staff. It was easy. They were always playing from ahead. Now they're facing some adversity. This is about as bad of a spot as you could ever have. You're playing the best team in the league on the road, off their bye week. You could never really have a worse spot than Green Bay's in on Sunday, and that's why the line is so high. It is funny, though, to see Aaron Rodgers catching 11.5 points. I never thought I'd see that.
Well, I keep making the case. I haven't acted on it, but I keep making the case almost every week. Like, hey, man, you're starting to get a discount on Aaron Rodgers. Like, you're starting to get that market discount, and now we're talking about 11.5 points for this guy.
Discount. You need more than that.
Discount double check. Yeah.
Green Bay's a mess. They've got a lot of problems. I don't know why. I didn't see the interview. I don't know why Rodgers is throwing his teammates under the bus.
That surprises you? Doesn't surprise me.
Well, he doesn't talk to his own family.
Right. He's kind of a jerk.
Like, that's obvious that there's something weird there about this guy, right? Like you just have to, with your family, you just have to deal with it.
Taking ayahuasca in the summer.
You got to deal with it.
Opening his third eye.
So that's really strange.
He's been off for a while, though, right? I mean, but now since they're losing, it's accelerated to this. But yeah, I agree. I mean, this is really this is really interesting to see the Packers, well, they're supposed to have this vaunted defense, which is okay at best right now.
Oh, the metrics say they're terrible.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And then you got, Rodgers doing this thing. So I just think it's another train crash. You're just kind of wanting to watch, and I probably will.
Well, we all will. Let's face it. All right, so we talk about the common theme there, right? Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, these old guys that are starting to look a little old and decrepit. Young guys are starting to, of course, ascend. One of those being Joe Burrow. The Bengals are slowly getting better, man. Like, it looks like they're getting better week to week. Right now, they're on the road against the Cleveland Browns. Here at Superbook, 3.5 on the road against Cleveland. Total of 47. No real big adjustment from your look ahead here, Jay. But what is the early action been like? Because over that key number of 3, right? You're sitting at 3.5, and there's been no movement. Gives you an idea of what the market thinks.
That's because the Bengals keep getting better each and every week, and you can see the power ranking on them just creep up to the top 5 right now. I can't say too much about the Browns, but the Bengals certainly are improving. I thought Burrow was just amazing last week, and if they get hot again with Chase getting open, and for some reason, maybe it's Boyd that's taking off some pressure. Maybe it's Mixon. Maybe he's drawing a little attention to him as well because they're starting to run the ball. That whole offense is starting to click right now. And I know that a lot of people were concerned about them coming out of the gate because they did look flat and weren't sure. There wasn't a lot of confidence in Cincinnati that they would be able to turn it around, but obviously they are. So I think it's actually a little light the way the Bengals are playing, but it's a rivalry. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you talk about these disappointing defenses. Third worst defense in the NFL by EPA metrics, the Cleveland Browns. Yep, it has gone pretty poorly for Cleveland. All right, with that, first off, before we get off of the National Football League path, Super Contest update. 3 entries at top of the leaderboard. 26 wins? How are we looking?
Over 74%.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty impressive, through 7 weeks here. So hitting over 74%, something we don't normally see even after, this many weeks. But I think the ones that are right behind them are right around 73%. So some guys that are really hot in the Super Contest, heading into week 8. Pretty impressive numbers, though.
Not me. 2 and 3. 16, 17 and 2 for the season.
I'm probably in the same boat.
Okay. All right. Good. That makes me feel better. Makes me feel better.
It's tough, John.
Is the NFL hard to pick?
I'm a second.
You got
half
a new
guy,
you got a new 3-week contest. No, that was started last.
No, it started last week.
Yeah.
So I'm out. Hey, but no.
Week 10.
Hey, what, 6-week contest, right? That's still in it.
No, week 10 you'll have a new 3, a new 6, a new 9.
But I was still in it for the 6. I just got to, really take off.
You're telling them to wait for the next 3 week when we already went.
I'm
really 1 week.
I'm never giving
up. He had
up.
a bad week in week 7.
What if I rip off 3 straight 5-0 weeks? I'm right in it for the 6 week, right?
That you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
If you go
Good luck.
25-0, yes, you'll be right back. You'll be
Did
right
you get
there.
your Mega
amongst the
Millions
leaders.
yet?
No, I didn't.
Nope.
You guys make fun of me, but you know what? I am a positive guy. Never going to give up. Never going to give up. All right, college football. We go on week 9. College football schedule is kind of weak. We got some good ones at the top, though, for the most part. John, I'll start with you here. Ohio State on the road against Penn State. This one, I've been kind of I've talked about this before where numbers will give you kind of clues on what's happening. So if you have numbers that are really solidly above a key number and it's just sitting there, kind of gives you an idea of where some respected opinions are. Mm-hmm. This is the same thing with Ohio State, right? Ohio State 15.5 hasn't really budged from this point right now. And Penn State, last time we saw them, John, at least against a quality opponent, they got absolutely blitzed by Michigan 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, Michigan's more than a quality opponent. Yep. I don't think we really understood how good Michigan was coming into the season. They're pretty solid. I think Ohio State right now is probably the best team in the country. It's unfortunate. This is the big noon Saturday. Is that what this is?
I believe so, yeah.
A terrible name. And this game should be played in prime time. This is going to be at 9 a.m. in Las Vegas. I don't like that.
I agree. No whiteout, right? And at night, it would have been so much better for Penn State.
So they did the whiteout game was against Minnesota and the backup quarterback, and now it's the big noon Saturday, whatever. I don't know. That's
very anticlimactic when they're beating the crap out of the Golden Gophers.
I think I've heard you say that before.
I don't like
big
that
noon.
Game. I think it's silly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm usually still watching soccer at 9 a.m. on Saturdays. I mean, working at 9 a.m. on Saturdays. We'll need Penn State here. I mean, they're gonna take Ohio State. They'll take Ohio State first half. We'll put it on sound in the book, and at some point, late second quarter, I'll tell the guys to pull the game.
Okay. All right. Like it. So look forward to that if you come down to the Westgate Superbook out here in Las Vegas.
We'll find something else.
All right. Big 12. Jay, we'll go to you here. Oklahoma State on the road against Kansas State. I would assume that this is a tough one for you guys, just given the fact that one Adrian Martinez gets knocked out after the first drive for K-State in their loss to TCU. His status will allegedly be decided on Thursday. But what do you guys do with this one? Adrian Martinez, I mean, we talk about comeback stories. Adrian Martinez and what he is worth now to K-State, I would assume very much more as opposed to the beginning of the year.
Well, the backup got hurt too.
Yep.
So, they have a lot of question marks heading into this game, but they prefer to run it anyway. I mean, if they can run it, all the better, because Oklahoma State can't stop anybody. Oklahoma State is really a labeled Big 12 team. It seems like, I'm surprised about this total, by the way, but Oklahoma State can't stop anybody on the ground. They are giving up over 300 yards, on their passing defense as well. But Kansas State is kind of going to try to grind this thing out, and without those quarterbacks being at full strength, I think that. I think actually they'll be able to do it. I just can't stand these teams that just let guys run 6-7 yards a clip. And I'm not sure if Kansas State's going to go in this one-dimensional, which they could with the quarterback issues. But I do believe they'll be able to run the ball. Yeah. And because of that, maybe that's why the total is down there at 56 when you look at the numbers, it should be probably around 60. But well, I guess we'll see, but I do believe that Kansas State is going to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, I was looking. The weather, at least out there, does not seem to be inclement, because they had a couple of Big 12 games last weekend that had to deal with a lot of wind, and that ultimately cut some of the totals down. Not the case, it seems, right now. To the SEC we go. Last college football game of the week that we're going to analyze here on the Oddsmakers. Kentucky on the road against Tennessee. John, I do believe the Volunteers deserve some credit because UT Martin, the powerhouse, the Skyhawks, they go in there trying to catch them on a letdown spot after beating up in Alabama. Not the case. They absolutely drop UT Martin, and now they get to get ready for Kentucky and the I guess they'll call him the next Josh Allen and Will Levis.
The next Josh Allen.
That's what he's been called.
That's it?
That's what he's been called.
No pressure.
I think he's just a really big white guy that can run and play quarterback, and that's probably what it is.
Josh Allen's pretty good. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's true, but I give Tennessee a lot of credit. I mean, we said last time we talked about a Tennessee game was ahead of that Alabama game 2 weeks ago, and we said we're going to know right away how good they are if their offense can just move the ball at will against Alabama. And they could. Alabama couldn't stop them whatsoever. Their receivers were running wide open all over the place. I know everybody was criticizing Alabama's secondary, and that's part of it, but you got to give most of the credit to Heupel and the scheme and the Tennessee players. Their offense is just so high-powered. They can score on anybody. Tough spot for Josh Allen Jr. here. I don't know about that, but I have seen some people that I respect taking Kentucky in the points. Yeah. If Josh Allen was playing for Kentucky, and what's his name, Levis, if he was playing for the Bills,
Levi's actually,
then it would be very interesting. Then you'd have the two games this weekend would be very interesting.
Speaking of that, John, what's the spread between the Chicago Bears and the Alabama Crimson
Chicago
Tide?
Bears and Alabama. This isn't a very good Alabama team, so I'll go Bears minus 70.
Okay, I know you love that question.
Oh yeah,
it's at the top of the list every single time. Yeah. All right, really quickly, so I know John is very excited, so I will go to I'll go to Murray on this one. Mm-hmm. First pitch for the World Series on Friday. How are you guys shaping up?
Yeah.
First pitch?
It depends on what state you're talking about. We do great on the Phillies in Nevada. Mm-hmm. We win a ton on the.
I assume we got Philadelphia.
We have a bookmaker here. His name is Ed Salmons, and he's a gigantic Philadelphia homer. So we always do great on any of the Philadelphia teams. Like we cleaned up when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And we're always in this phenomenal position on the Sixers and the NBA futures every year. Now, they never win. But if they were going to win, we would win a ton. And we're in a great spot on the Phillies, except for in New Jersey, Jay, where we get clobbered.
Again. Yeah.
Just like we got clobbered on them in the pennant. There's only so much you can do about that, though.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you? It's like that for every jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. When Tennessee covers, we got destroyed in Tennessee when they beat up on Alabama. But same thing with the Phillies. That's just doing business. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's great. I think Phillies, even though the Astros went undefeated so far, I still think they're the best. They're the best team. But the Phillies are hot. They feel a lot of mojo.
They're built for postseason baseball. They've got great starting pitching. They've got guys that can hit home runs all over the lineup. Their manager's pushing all the right buttons. I mean, I think they're pretty dangerous. Yeah. And there's some high prices out there on the Phillies right now on the series price. If you look around town, because there are some books that have a lot of liability to the Astros. I'm not going to say who or why caused that liability, but I think everybody knows. So there are some high series prices out there on Philadelphia from these books that don't want to take any more Houston.
I need a new mattress, by the way.
Me too.
I mean, we were talking about this off the air. I mean, there's something that you can look in. I don't think it's illegal across state lines, but we'll see. All right. Hey, if you're out and about, it's a good weekend of sports. World Series starts. Make sure to come see us at the Superbook at the Westgate Las Vegas. John, of course, in charge of all the sound early on. The Lodge Casino, Black Hawk, Colorado, are going to be here all weekend showing all the biggest college football, NFL, and World Series games, although they're all big World Series games. So as always, you can follow us on social at Superbook Sports or superbook.com. Stay on top of all the latest odds, boosts, and promos. And if you're listening to my voice, that means you should like, rate, review, and subscribe to the Oddsmakers presented by Superbook Sports. We'll see you next week.